Play makes beautiful things. Before, during, and after playing is done, there's this gorgeous collection of spaces, instruments, pieces, and other things made for playing. Those things are wonderful, and I get enthuse about them. This is the Sanctuary of Play, which is a virtual church with a joyful mission that play is a sacred gift and an innate part of our natures which should be celebrated. We feel play is a basic need, like sleep, food and water, shelter, and community. Like those practices, play is good for us, has a purpose, and can be expressed in many ways. We're going to talk about play and encourage play in our lives. Our mission and values are on our website. So back to play makes beautiful things. I'm going to bounce around a bit and talk about these things in general and sometimes some very targeted personal experiences. Sometimes I'll just list examples of the concept. I'd like this to be closer to 15 minutes than 60 minutes, so I've cut myself off in some ways. You can always ask me to do a follow-up chat or answer questions in the comments. Starting with something personal, there was an old friend who had a magnificent mahjong cabinet from around the 1900s. Their grandfather had been a Western executive for a metal company, and I'm sure if this gift was given before or after the Boxer Rebellion and the series of reforms in the early century. His grandfather was that old and had worked for that long. The box was much older. The cabinet was really intricate and full of dovetail woodwork. The tiles were ivory and beautifully painted. There were decorated sticks for scoring or gambling. I haven't seen its like before or since, and I'll always regret that I didn't take them up on the offer to have the cabinet. Today, the mahjong sets I have access to are plastic, often with magnets in them so automatic tables can shuffle and set the walls for you. I can get a magnetic set made with any color and any art that I want, including cartoon characters. If I have the image files, I can commission anything, which is its own level of artistry. But it's totally different than what that handcrafted game cabinet was that I still covet. There are so many game pieces and game boards. The Royal Game of has a set from around 2600 BC. You can guess which museum that's in. The ancient Egyptian game of Senet is about the same age. There's a lawn Senet game at the Rosicrucian Museum in San Jose made of industrial pieces like road cones. And there's like the quintessential board game with pieces, which is chess. When it comes to games with pieces, we have to include chess. Their entire store is dedicated to and full of every kind of chessboard and pieces, from plastic magnet travel sets to massive gemstone extravaganzas. There are even human-sized chess gardens where people can dress up as chess pieces and be played. That's delightful. Less extravagantly, and maybe more accessibly, is the way that the humble deck of cards has become a type of memento. A lot of gift shops have one or more special decorative decks, which make nice office gifts, instead of magnets or theme snacks or shot glasses. If your work culture needs you to bring back something for everyone, or you like remembering where you've been. The mahjong example, and a lot of the gaming examples, are very small, modern era, and intimate. As a total contrast, I'd like to bring up The ball game in ancient Mesoamerica. I think one of the more modern popular cultural examples of the ball game was in the Disney cartoon The Road to El Dorado. We know the ball game was played in part because the ball courts are still there and were often central to the cities. They were put in the city sacred precinct, usually, and were very prominent places made of stone, carved and decorated with skulls and all that. Chichen Itza has a court. The capital of the Aztec Empire, Tenochtitlan, had a court. The courts were common and plentiful. The city of Katona has 24 courts. El Tajín has 11 courts. The ball game itself was brutal, but we can't deny the civic power and longevity of where and when it was played in these stone skull-decorated courts. I'm going to talk about architecture again later, but I want to spend a little more time on sports. So besides the field of play, there's what you're playing with. And the American football is kind of brown and boring, but the actual round football gets treated like the gem of a piece that it is. The sphere is usually made of hexagons, but any tileable shape that can make a ball can be used. I like pentagons. The most distinct coloration and pattern is black and white, but all kinds of bright balls exist in the pieces or painted or wrapping put on the ball itself. It's a branding opportunity that is not missed. For example, for world-class football matches, flags could be put on the balls. It's part of the pageantry. And this is also a fantastic segue to another thing about sports play that I want to mention. Audience toys. Participation toys when you're part of the congregation. Things for fans and attendees are really neat things. You have church fans with printing on them. We've talked about memento footballs. There's silly hats, theme lights to hold up at concerts. I see you, BTS Army. Things like that. Those things are so much fun. And bouncing around in space and time, musical instruments are such works of art. Guzin plucked instruments have carved panels on the ends. Harpsichords, which are like pianos, would be lavishly and brightly enameled. Delali flutes are intricately carved. Didgeridoos are painted and carved. And all kinds of drums are carved, painted, have intricate rope work, patterns in the nails that are used to keep the drum heads on, painted drum heads, and sometimes patterned pierced metal shakers that are put into the ropes. This list of the ways that the instruments that we play are also beautiful things is a massive understatement that I can come back to in another chat if you would like. Like the ball courts, location itself can be a plaything. Spaces are decorated to their purpose with carvings, mosaic floors, and mosaic panels or paintings. Those are surface things, but there's also designed buildings, like the ancient solar buildings, that were built so that when someone walked in on the stage, they were backlit like a sun god to the audience. Acoustic tricks in an intentional building like that would have whisper walls that can use to make that sun god like speaker voice carry to the whole room. There's a cave system in Hungary that I'm not going to say right. Furtorakas? There's a Furtorakas cave theater which has unique sonic qualities. And besides elevating a voice, you can clarify the sound space by dropping sounds out. The Ali Kapu, don't quote me on that, Palace Music Hall muffles sound so that everyone fidgeting doesn't get in the way of what's going on. We have called prayer towers that carry sound across the city, which are beautifully decorated. Greek theaters are designed to be seen and to be heard, and much like the ball courts, is not the first or last time that play will be associated with the sacred. So church sanctuary play is not a unique concept in any way, shape, or form. There's a whole lineage there. It's a very human thing. We have buildings like the Globe Theaters or temple gates, Chinese opera houses, movie palaces, cathedrals. I think one of the more modern examples of an extremely intentional space would be the Western Opera House of this Sydney Opera House. Beautiful thing. Performances in those spaces integrated many types of play and mastery like music, oration, mummery, dance, costumes. That's a lot easier to do in places built for it. One summer, I was in a performance troupe on tour in a different country than I grew up in, and we would be in about 3 to 5 different theaters a week. Nothing had the same floor plan. We had to adapt the performance to the space every single time. The location dictated what we could do on stage and complicated the fastest of the costume changes. Which brings me to dance costume and fashion. I love this part. The physicality of a lot of dance costumes isn't just to be pretty or brightly colored, but also to accentuate the movement of the dance. Chinese opera has face switching technology, which is magical. They'll just like look at you and they'll be a different person. If you can go see it, go see it. You can look it up. Or there's an entire style of play with momentum that the name for it can be translated as water sleeves or water flow sleeves. If you've ever seen the Chinese dances where the sleeve is longer than the dancer is tall, and the movements are thrown out and they play with the sleeves like they're flags, that's a water sleeve. Which reminds me of like the use of scarves in Morris dancing or more Mediterranean or Middle Eastern folk dancing. Parallel evolution in form seems to be common. Another example is the way that a ballerina's tutu skirt and a Zawuli mask dancer both have short, stiff, and bouncy skirts, which are part of not only the movement, but the visual language of how that movement can be seen. Flared skirts that are long and ripply are a part of Mexican folklorico, flamenco, but also temple dances like kafak. Powwow dance styles, where the costume is part of the movement, is all of them. Ribbon skirts, jingle dresses, shawls, and the amazing fancy dance costumes. There are so many movement and hip accentuating dance styles like hula, belly dance, akapese, which I'm probably saying wrong. I could be here forever talking about dance costumes. Let's keep going. Wearable art that is part of play includes not just costumes, but also jewelry and fashion. One of the oldest human artifacts we have is a broken bracelet with a hole in the bracelet for a kind of stringed bauble or something. It has toy factor. This bracelet with toy factor is from Siberia and is about 40,000 years old. That is 40 centuries. It is so old that the human wearing it was Denisovian, not a modern human. Many modern humans have Denisovian ancestry, but it's a thing. Wearable art is older than we are. Much more recently, but not actually modern, were sistrums in ancient Egypt. A sistrum can be a standalone rattle, but it was often a rattle pendant on a necklace that could also be shaken as a sounder, like a shaker. Also, in modern day, we have shows like drag races, couture fashion shows, and street fashion Instagram accounts that capture the everyday playfulness that we do with appearance. The artifacts of play are in all kinds, all forms, all times, for all people. I've highlighted some examples in games, sports, being a spectator, music, architecture, dance, and fashion. These examples are small and almost paltry to show the expanse of all the things, all the beautiful, persistent things that are made by and for playing. I'd love to hear your examples and opinions of the glorious things we get to have, admire, and enjoy from playing. Have a great week, and I will see you next Sunday.